I see my sister Leah Watson, and I see my
Oh,
adopted daughter, Tanisha Tingo.
okay. All right. I got a
Representing her mama and my other sister.
Okay. Hi, Leah. That's part of the crew. And Sheila O'Neill, hello. Tanisha and Glendora. It's so good to have all of you here with us tonight. I also want to give a shout out to my assistant, Michele. She's got the blue jacket on, and she's the one that made it possible for all of you all to get the link. So, we truly appreciate her efforts and her work. She's such a hard worker, and we're grateful for that. So this is the Black History Month celebration and observance by the Africa's Daughters of the Diaspora. And we are a group of young women of a particular age who started having conversation about the idea of how can we seize the moment and the opportunity to overcome the schisms of imperialism and capitalism and racism and all these isms that have separated those of us whose parents or ancestral parents came to the shores in the Western Hemisphere, not freely. And they came here, and because they were the strongest of the strong, we are here today. And it just seemed like they would be saying, what in the world are y'all doing? All this schism, colorism, ageism, elitism, classism, sexism. We all came on those boats, whether you landed in Jamaica or you landed in Americas or you landed in Western Europe. We all came over here on those boats, and we all endured the master's whips. So we thought that it was important to do what work we can do to cross those divides, to bridge those gaps, to celebrate our heritage and each other, and to help celebrate and elevate and unite as women of the diaspora. We are inviting people to the conversation. And this is our inaugural event. We have with us two women who are just so dynamic. Tanya's going to do the pleasure of sharing their bios with you, but they've been in my life. Michele, almost all of her life. She was a wee little girl when we met up, and her mom, and we've been family and friends for almost 40 years. So very happy to have them with us tonight. They are also sorors to the Vice President of the United States, our beloved woman extraordinaire of the hour, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, first woman and a daughter of the diaspora. We are going to welcome Ms. Tanya Jackson. Ms. Tanya Jackson, I couldn't look over here to look at that, what you sent me. So I'm just going to say a little bit about her. I already did. She's a media specialist, and she's a child of Columbia County. Her mom, Roxanne Wilkins, is on here tonight as well. And she's one of the younger generational members of the Daughters of the Diaspora. So very glad that she agreed to help out tonight with her skills and her talents, and also to moderate. And I give her the pleasure of introducing my dear, dear family members, love sisters, niece, sister, friend, family. I could go on, but I'm not. Reverend Dr. Denise Lawrence and her daughter, Michele Jawando. This is Tanya Jackson to do the proper introductions. You're on mute, Tanya.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Singletary. Thank you, everyone who's joining us here tonight. And again, my name is Tanya Jackson. This is exciting. I am moderating, I am tech supporting, I am admitting people into the Zoom, so bear with me. And we have a wonderful conversation concerning what does it mean to preserve our legacy. And so I'm going to introduce and moderate a conversation with two wonderful, wonderful women. the Reverend Dr. Denise Parker Lawrence and Michele L. Jawando. Thank you both for being here. Thank you both for being here. How are you,
Thank
ladies?
you.
Thank you. I
Okay.
didn't know if we should say anything yet.
Yes.
How are you?
We are well. It's an honor to be here. The Lord had given me an illustration many years ago that says how he weaves this magnificent tapestry, and he takes a strand from here and a strand from here, and in the Kairos time, he brings them together. And tonight, for me, is really a compilation of all of those strands, so many of my strands coming together. So it's an honor to be here tonight. And then to be here with my firstborn.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Hi,
So
Mommy.
let's introduce you so everyone knows the connection here. So I'll begin with the Reverend. The Reverend Dr. Denise Parker Lawrence serves as an associate minister at the Greater Allen AME Cathedral of New York under the tutelage of pastors Reverend Dr. Floyd H. Flake and co-pastor Reverend Dr. Margaret Elaine Flake. Reverend Lawrence served as the director of the One Choice, One Voice Abstinence Until Marriage Project, which provided abstinence education to youth primarily in Queens, New York, since 2005. One Choice offered a message of hope and possibility to a population overly saturated with negative and destructive sexual messages. One Choice integrated a monthly Black History program in order to equip and empower youth on the contributions of African Americans in the society at large. To that end, under Reverend Lawrence's leadership, One Choice sponsored the Obama Effect, Beyond Trayvon Martin, and Beyond Lincoln, the celebration of the 150th anniversary of the Proclamation of Emancipation community-based workshops. In addition, Dr. Lawrence is a board certified chaplain and pastoral counselor and has been awarded the position of supervisory diplomat with the College of Pastoral Supervision and Psychotherapy. Dr. Lawrence provided chaplaincy training for the Clinical Pastoral Education Department of Episcopal Health Services at St. John's Episcopal Hospital. She is the convener of the Far Rockaway chapter. Currently, Reverend Lawrence is the Nassau County Pastoral Care Coordinator for Metropolitan Jewish Health Services, with an overall responsibility of the coordination of pastoral and religious support services to hospice patients. Dr. Lawrence is a Charles Revson Public Service Scholar and graduated Hunter College with a Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology and Early Childhood Education. In addition, she holds a master's degree from Alliance Theological Seminary. Recently, Dr. Lawrence completed her doctorate in ministry with the College of Pastoral Supervision and Psychotherapy, Graduate Institute, with a concentration in pastoral care, counseling, and supervision. She is proud to be a member of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Theta Iota Omega chapter. Reverend Denise also served as the co-chair of the North Atlantic Regional Prayer Team from 2014 to 2018. In addition, she served as the chapter chaplain of the Long Island chapter of the Links, Inc. She was a proud executive board member of the First Episcopal District, New York Annual Conference, AME Women in Ministry. Reverend Lawrence is also a member of the NAACP Westbury chapter. She has received citations and awards from Congressman Gregory Meeks, Senator Malcolm Smith, Leadership Award from Youth and Tennis Inc., and the Young Peoples of Children's Division, Women's Ministry Society, New York Conference of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and most recently from the National Council of Negro Women for Pastoral Care. Reverend Lawrence is married to attorney Mortimer Lawrence, and they are the proud parents of Michele, Mac, Misha, and Maya. She is especially elated to be grandma to Aaliyah, Ryan 7, Addison 6, and Ava 5, and newborn William Isaiah. Congratulations. By far, Reverend Lawrence's favorite scripture is 2 Corinthians 5:7. Walk by faith, not by sight. and she strives to live her life as though she were the only Bible one, as though she were the only Bible one they ever read. Wonderful. Thank you and welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yes, that's a wonderful, conversation. With Dr. Denise is her daughter, Michele. Michele L. Jawando is an attorney, public policy expert, social justice advocate, familypreneur, and Afrotech futurist with a lifelong dedication to public service. She currently serves as head of U.S. Strategic Engagement and Public Policy Partnerships at Google. As a member of the public policy team, she is responsible for developing strategic relationships and partnerships with nonprofits, think tanks, elected, and thought leaders across the U.S. Prior to joining Google, she served as vice president at the Center for American Progress, a progressive think tank where she also served as co-host of a nationally recognized political news podcast, Thinking Cap, a co-host on Sirius XM, and a cable news contributor. Before that, she served as general counsel and senior advisor to United States Senator Kristen Gillibrand. Jawando was responsible for leading some of the office's landmark work, including the passage of the 9/11 health bill and repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the confirmations of Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan. Michele has been a guest speaker for numerous panels and national conferences, including NAACP, the National Bar Association, Netroots, Emily's List, Black Futures Lab, the Young Women's Christian Association, Open Society Foundation, National Women's Law Center, the National Urban League, the United States Student Association, Higher Heights, Black PAC, and many more. She is the past recipient of the Women's Information Network Young Women of Achievement Award and was previously recognized as one of 40 Power Young Professionals under 40 in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Wait, I'm not done yet. I just had to use She coming for her mama is what this is saying.
Y'all are making me blush.
I got two more paragraphs here. A regular commentator for MSNBC, Fox News, and CNN, she is a sought-after voice and has been interviewed and quoted numerous times by national print and radio media, including the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Baltimore Sun, the Associated Press, C-SPAN, and National Public Radio. A native New Yorker, she holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Hampton University and earned her Juris Doctorate from the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill School of Law, where she founded Sister Friend, a support network for women of color. She is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc. and the Links, Incorporated. She also served as a board for Higher Heights for America. The only national organization providing Black women with a political home exclusively dedicated to harnessing their power to expand Black women's elected representation and voting participation, and advance progressive policies. And in our own voice, the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Partnership between 5 Black women-led organizations. She is the wife of the Honorable Will Jawando, Esquire, Montgomery County Council member, and mother of 4, 3 smart and beautiful girls, Aaliyah, Addison, and Ava, and a newborn son, William Isaiah. Now we know who had the newborn. From the great writer, Audre Lorde, is, when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Welcome, both of you.
I'm embarrassed you read that whole thing, so thank you, Tanya.
Me too.
Well, I thought about paraphrasing, but I was like, I don't know how to. I was like, they want all this read. I'm gonna read it. You know, you earned it.
It's all important. That's all of you. We need to hear it all.
Wonderful. And I'm going to,
Amen.
I would like to ask everyone else to mute their mics at this time. Thank you. So I'm gonna open it up with thinking about, so this organization, this group that we are cultivating here in the Hudson Valley is Africa's Daughters of the Diaspora. And I would like to begin by asking both of you, and this is a conversation, you can, be inspired by each other and speak to one another as well as myself. What does it mean for you to be a daughter of Africa's diaspora?
There is a quote by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and it says, "Next to God, I thank women first for giving life and then for making it worthwhile." Being a daughter of the diaspora is, for me, understanding the power of sisterhood, understanding, and I love the tapestry I mentioned earlier for those that joined a little later, of the Lord giving me this tapestry of pulling a strand here and pulling a strand there. And as I look across this gallery and see the intergenerational component, that's what it's about. Each of us should be a Mary and we should be an Elizabeth. What does that mean? That means that we should be a Mary looking for a mentor, which is what Elizabeth represents. And as we move, whether it's through our careers, whether it's through motherhood, whether it's through singleness, whether it's through relationships, we should have someone that will sow into us. And then we need to be Elizabeth and turn around and sow into a Mary. And I have to say, as Michele was a very precocious young girl, I was an only child. Later on, my parents divorced and father remarried, and so I have a step brother, but grew up as an only child and never really got along well with girls my age. For some reason, the way the Lord orchestrated me, I always sought out people older. So I wanted to be at the feet of my elders, learning. And it was really when I came into maybe my 20s that I began to feel more comfortable with people in my age group. So for me, being a woman of the diaspora is understanding the value of the intergenerational component in connection.
Yeah, and I think if I reflect on that, first I have to giving all honor to my Reverend Kim, but I call her Auntie Kim because that's the only way I know. And working for Senator Gillibrand all of my trips up to the Hudson Valley. So the fact that this is again coming together really feels so full circle. Being a woman, I like to say that I am proudly Black, unashamed, unapologetically. And I live that truth. And what I often find is when I think about the gifts of culture, and you think about how culture is able to sustain itself, it really is through women. And even as you look on this gallery view, the strength of the women across ages and intergenerationally and coming from our unique blends of life. When I really think about the diaspora, it is the fullness of the richness of a Black woman and women's identity in the spaces that we occupy. Thinking about when and where we enter and filling into that space, and Black women in the diaspora, what we do is we fill spaces, we fill the gaps, we meet the needs, we speak to the community, we save the community, we carry the community, we carry our stories and our tradition and our legacy. And so for me, when I even just hear the word diaspora, I think of, you know, the Black plus community, and I feel such a deep connection between my ancestral home in different parts of West Africa and the Caribbean, and then in the Deep South and here in the States, and feeling that connection and that legacy is really what has moved me and given me a sense of purpose and confidence in a way that, had I not felt that connection, I would not be able to do what I do. And so as I think about our sisters, I think about our unique place of value in the diaspora and pulling from that legacy to really find purpose.
Beautiful. And what that made me want to think about for us to think through collectively is this idea of sisterhood, and when did we get to a point to hold it, you know, sacred and value it the way that we do. So I would like to ask both of you, what are some of your earliest memories of sisterhood? And what would you say are some defining moments that brought you into this rootedness in the value and richness of being in sisterhood?
I'll kick it off this time, Mommy. You know, I am so fortunate. I have just been raised at every point of my life with strong women around me, of every shape, skinny, big hip, all shapes and sizes and colors and variations. There really is no moment in my life that I cannot really see beautiful Black women around me who shaped me and kind of made me who I am. And then even of different faith traditions, growing up very early with a beautiful Muslim family that was the mom of my best friend, and Black Jews, and having just kind of this richness of experience just really gave me just such a sense of the divine that is women. And even really recognizing that from early on, that there was a unique experience that women use and shape in this world. What I've also been blessed to have is I actually have sisters, and I was raised with my cousin, Alicia, as my sister. And so growing up, having this very full, loud house that I have, as soon as I said full, loud house, I have now manifested that in the next generation with, come in, you can say hello.
Hi. Yeah. Hello, beautiful.
Okay, can you guys go? Thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's interesting that I have literally done exactly what my mother has done and had 3 girls and 1 boy, not on purpose. But have really manifested a rich, full community of people around me. I take mentorship seriously. And so I have tons of young mentees who've lived with me, who spend time with us. And then I cling also in the same way that my mom spoke about Elizabeth, and having women mentors that I look to for guidance, who move me. And so I think for me, my earliest moments have always been formed with this idea of sisterhood. And I think what's so interesting is I think the enemy knows the strength and the value of women coming together. And that's why there's so much focus and animosity and strife that you sometimes see develop in our relationship dynamics, because there's such a power there. So if you can stop the power from growing and metastasizing, when you see us together and unified and moving, what we create is infinite. And so in order to stop that power, I think that's where you see the enemy come in, and, you know, we can't be friends with women and no new friends and all this nonsense. And that's, I think, a direct enemy, trick of the enemy. So for me, sisterhood is just like a part of who I am and what I believe in.
Thank you for that.
Mommy, you're on mute.
Okay, here I am. Tanya, when you first asked the question, I immediately went back to, I was raised in East New York, Brooklyn, New York. And I see Reverend Waddell. A very, very shy child. As I mentioned, I was really, I was an only child at that time. I didn't get a stepbrother till adulthood. And my first friend was someone named Ronnie that I didn't invite this evening. She actually ended up becoming a parishioner, go fast forward, under Reverend Kim many decades later. So I was this very quiet, shy, afraid of my shadow, very girly girl. My girlfriend was the only girl of 7 boys. She was a tomboy, very rough and tumble. And we met in the 4th grade, where I was always bullied, hated going to school. And she took me under her wing. She's only 1 year older than me. Took me under her wing and told all the bullies, if you bother her, you're gonna have to bother me. And I was able to get through those 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. We would take children from, and it was something that the Lord just dropped in me at an early age, would take children from the neighborhood, take them on the train, and take them on trips to Prospect Park, take them on trips to the city, just to expose them to something other than that little block that they were on. So at a very early age, that was something that was placed in me to understand the value of sisterhood. We are still friends, sisters to this day. We're each other godparents. And, we may not always physically see each other. My birthday's in August, her birthday's in September. And I would say consistently for about the last 15 years, we always try to have lunch, dinner, or something around that time period to celebrate one another. And that is what is so significant for me, to understand that different women in different seasons of your life will be placed there for a reason, and to help to bring out of you, they will see things in you that you don't see in yourself. When you go through hardships, divorce, medical, children, you have someone there. And I love the expression of saying, to where you can be naked and not ashamed, where I can bare my soul. I don't have to worry about seeing my stuff on Facebook. I'm a big Facebook person, but I love having confidence that I can share and bare my soul and know whatever that is, it's going to remain there. And even as, I do training with chaplaincy and working with different women's organizations, that's one of the things that I share, the value and the importance of that. You have to have a place. I'm a hairdresser, I'm a stylist. They change all the names, right? Beautician, stylist, hairdresser, all of that, right? So you know how to do the makeup, you know how to do the hair, you put the clothes on and all of that. But you've got to have a place where you can just bare your soul, be yourself, and have the confidence to know that wherever that is, whatever that is going to remain there. And that truly is the value for me of sisterhood.
Thank you for that as well. Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the beauty salon and at the sites and spaces of safety, as well as vulnerability and bravery in a space of other women. And I was just thinking about my own childhood in the times and places where that was readily available, and the times and places when it was not, and what it did for me. When you talked about the confidence of having it, and then when you don't have it, one, you're aware that you don't have it if you've had an opportunity to have it, but then what are you growing and learning about yourself when you don't have that? And what can you rely on to bring into those times when you are alone? So I wanted to transition a bit into you both, in terms of growing up to not just, God, the universe, brings you into, some early, angels, to help provide that space for you. But then you get older, you go off to college, you start to become a professional adult, and now you have to be intentional about that. And now you're in these other spaces where that's being challenged. And Michele, you kind of, made mention of that earlier in terms of like the enemy trying to stop the beauty and power of what sisterhood is. So I would, I'm curious to know some more in relationship to your adult lives, where sisterhood was either, I guess maybe some examples in particularly in your professional lives, where sisterhood became like more palpable in another way. There's a childhood sisterhood, and then in high school, some of those relationships, you learn about sisterhood in other dynamics, and then when you become an adult, there are these ways in which it comes full circle around, this is what it means to be able to choose good people in your life. And I'm glad I had this person, because I was alone in this, this particular environment, and I need to call on and lean on my sisters. So, I'm curious about thinking through your professional life as it pertains to sisterhood, when you didn't have it, when you did have it, and how did you intentionally, in what ways did you intentionally utilize sisterhood in your life as an adult?
I think for me in answering that question, and I'm going to look in the gallery, I guess I cut myself up in segments. So I have my church family. Reverend Kim has been a mentor in that category, as a young mother. Well, not necessarily that young, but a mother with young children. As she said, when we joined the church, so I had Michele, who I think was probably about 10. No, she was younger than that. And Mac was about 3. So she was, So she was about 8. And joined this church. We went to a wedding, was connected spiritually. And Reverend Kim met us at a store, a grocery store, after joining the church, and said, "Hey, did you just go to the altar?" And that began our relationship there. When I see Reverend Julia, who is one of my confidants, my sister friends from my relationship with the church. So that's my religious component. Then I was exposed to one of the sisters, a mentor, an older mentor, to Alpha Kappa Alpha. And that opened up a whole new world for me of sisterhood. I think I said one of my adopted daughters, her mom couldn't be here, but she's here, Tanisha. And there was a sisterhood there of a bond that once again, we could walk through together, professionally, talking about what's happening with ourselves, our families, dealing with medical issues within our families. So you have someone that's walking that path along. Now, as what Michele said, unfortunately, whenever you get a large group of women, there's always going to be something, right? So then you have someone that can walk you through those ups and downs. Then as a result of Alpha Kappa Alpha, I was exposed to another organization, the Links Incorporated. And I see one of my close friends, so we are double sisters because we're AKAs and Links. And we were able to walk together within that, once again, professionally, but still being able to walk through the vicissitudes of life together. So I had those very distinct areas: church, these 2 professional organizations, and then within my church, another group which you spoke about in my bio, the family ministry. Well, not family ministry. I started family ministry with Reverend Kim, but the abstinence program, we became a family. So we were initially a federally funded program. And 5 years, we were funded for 5 years, and we didn't want to stop after the funding. So we continued on our own, putting in the money, doing the work on our own for the next 5 years. And we continue to be connected. So those are those professional, those other boxes, you know, that you go through the ups, having a contract, losing the contract. What does that mean? You know, needing employment, don't have employment. What does that mean? How do you have utilize your resources? And I think I've been extremely blessed in that regard. I saw Reverend Hargett here. That's another one of my mentors from early on when she was accepting her call to ministry. So that's how far back we go back. And now she is one of the more stable churches community within the Hollis community in Queens.
And if Michele, I don't know if you have something readily that you wanted to say, but I
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and I'll make it short so that we can get to some of the other pieces, because I think Mommy kind of really thought and was intentional about creating community in spaces in her life. And I think what I also recognize is professionally, sometimes you're gonna create sisterhood with people who don't necessarily look like you, right? Who don't necessarily have the same background. And that sometimes it's really important for us to like let ourselves be open and vulnerable in that way to create those relationships, right? So even with the senator, I will say I joined her staff and she has become a personal mentor to me. Now, this white woman senator from upstate New York, we didn't have a whole lot in common in the beginning, but she was there for me through the birth of all my children. And so being both intentional of opening yourself up, even in professional experiences, to have mentors, and then to also be thinking about other people. And so I would add that as a piece of intentionality. But the other thing that I would say is I have been intentional about creating peer mentors, right? So people who I'm working with, but recognizing that like we have to kind of help each other negotiate. How do you ask for that raise? How do you leave a job gracefully? What does that look like? How do you ask for more? What do you do if you're sexually harassed at work? Like, what are your resources? How do you manage that? And so having kind of a group of peer mentors, and then also being strategic about having people who I personally have a mentor relationship with, but others who I would say are sponsors, who maybe aren't as vested in me personally, but believe in my success. And I think we sometimes define sisterhood only in these kind of very narrow spaces. But I will say that I've had, bosses who have become sponsors for me because they believe that they're great assets that I have in my professional career and have given me the boost up. And so I think sisterhood, opening up the definition beyond just even the personal, but also thinking about the career and the professional and the advice, I think is also something that I would just add for us to continue to think about in our definition.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And it makes me want to get into two of the organizations that you both are members of, in particular, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, thinking about the piece around mentorship, seasoned to coming into your own mentorship, and then that peer-to-peer mentorship where you're, relatively around the same age group, experiencing the same things. I too, I'm a member of sorority. I'm Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, the Design Nine Sisters. So, I do have, a personal understanding of, the intersection of that and how important, that came to be for me, but hadn't quite, understood it until I, got really, deep into becoming serious, about joining and then being a member of this of Sigma Gamma Rho. So I wanted to talk to you both a little bit about AKA in particular, as Reverend Singletary mentioned, our vice president is a member of your sorority. She's one of your sorors. And so and for those who may be watching who don't know, one, what a sorority is, two, who Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority is, if you could kind of break that down a little bit and perhaps maybe share an anecdote of what made you join, and just something that you want to share in terms of like what Alpha Kappa Alpha and being in that type of sisterhood? I'm assuming when you know, were undergrad, in your undergrad experiences, I don't know if you joined grad, you did join undergrad.
Yeah.
You know, what did it mean for you to join at that, you know, pivotal moment of your life, and how that has, you know, helped you, you know, along?
So I'm going to talk first because the youngin had the traditional experience. I joined as an adult woman, and I will say that in the midst of the process, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, what in the world am I doing here? But as I mentioned to you earlier, I was introduced by one of my mentors, an elderly woman in my church community. And because I was a missionary president, she had been one of my missionaries, and she saw the work that I was doing. And that work lined up very much with many of the tenets. So we say biblically, you know, Matthew 25, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I needed clothes, you gave me something. Those were many of the tenets. And this is the Alpha Kappa Alpha. Think about it. The vision of a young woman in 1908, Ethel Hedgeman Lyle, to have the foresight and the vision to start something like this. And here we are. And I'll let Michele pick it up from there.
Yeah, Michele, could you give us a little history on, who is Alpha Kappa Alpha? How did they come to be? Why did we need that at the time that it came to be?
So I'll actually connect it to what I believe is a part of in the African American unique experience here in our country. One of the ways that we've been able to sustain tradition and also build political and social capital has been through institutions. I think the most enduring example of that would be the Black church. But what you also saw were these informal networks that we've been able to put together. And one of those networks became what are considered the Divine Nine, the Black Greek letter sororities and fraternities, which are modeled after traditional white fraternities and sororities, but have a unique social justice impact that's at the center of the work. In the same way the African Methodist Episcopal Church came out of a social justice movement in the Methodist Church, so too did the Black Greek letter organizations. And so they called the Divine Nine because they represent different segments, I think, of one tapestry of Black empowerment and really a commitment to social justice. I think if you had to categorize it in the Black African experience, that they're probably a little bit more W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T than Malcolm X. If you know, a lot of people who are in sororities and fraternities understand institutions and tend to be institutionalists, but how many of us know we need different kinds of people in all of our institutions? And so much of the sorority and fraternity life is really based on, I think, a little bit personality, but also some connection to that organization. And so for me, I had examples of women of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Reverend Dr. Elaine Flake, Dr. Gloria Black, who sponsored me through scholarships as I was coming up. And so I had these models and these examples. And so when I got to Hampton University, the Hampton University. Roxanne is on there, gotta represent.
Yeah. The Hampton y'all rep
that's
hard.
Right. You know, me and your mom, Tanya, already made a connection just on the intro. So when I got to Hampton University and really saw the engagement of the Black Greek letter organizations like AKA, I just felt like it was a continuation of kind of my leadership and my leadership development and skills. And out of that came some of my best friends and community, but it was not without drama, right? But it was also using those experiences to really develop and shape my character. And I'll just quickly say about our wonderful vice president, because I worked in politics, I was fortunate to have a relationship with the VP before when she was Attorney General in California, and then when she came to the Senate. She was both a mentor and an advocate for my husband and I. And one of the best experiences was being able to I think it was 2 summers ago now. When she came to the vineyard, I got in touch with her team and I was like, look, my mom's here. It's her birthday weekend. I gotta get time with the senator. And, it's a little easier when you're in DC because she would just like have me come to the office and things like that. But I said, no matter what, I gotta get some time with the senator and my mom. And at this AKA luncheon, I was able to get some time apart, and all these women were trying to interrupt, and vice president, she was like, nope, I'm talking to Michelle's mom. And it was just really a beautiful thing. And I think that that's both the mentorship and the sisterhood again, right? She had been pouring into me as a young Black attorney, but then the generational, and that she saw my mother and wanted to honor and respect her. And so when she became vice president, I was all kinds of obnoxious. I've been wearing pink and green like every day. I switched it up today with
I have my pink
black.
and green.
But I think one of the things that I say, because I've worked in Black organizing politics for a long time, you can't get elected in national office without Black women. And I was a part of a coalition of Black women leaders across the country, Star Jones, Donna Brazil, the Color Girls. We were organizing every week to make sure that Kamala Harris got picked, won, and then that she was supported, and that we had a public relations fight, because it does not happen electorally. We know that when you bring Black women to the polls, they bring their community, they bring their cousins, they bring Nene and them, they get everybody up, they get grandmama, everybody comes when a Black woman shows up. And so we knew that by him putting Kamala on that ticket, that he was gonna win. We had the numbers, we had the data. And so it's just such a beautiful moment to see that. And I'm excited for what the future holds.
Beautiful, beautiful. And oh my goodness, this is wonderful. This so much is so many other questions are coming to me as I'm listening to you both talk. And I think what's present to me right now that I think is good to talk about in terms of sisterhood, in particular Black women, and even more particular Black women here in the United States, around our historical legacy of reclaiming and redefining ourselves in the face of so much stigma around who we are as humans, the fact that we are human, the fact that we have the right to femininity, the fact that we have a right to, so many things that we continuously fight for and provide pathways for, so that another generation can recall, reclaim, and stand in their power. And so, it's thinking about the national landscape or the national, temperature around Black women. I think it would be wonderful to get to say a little bit more about, the temperature now, as opposed to let's say pre-COVID, let's say even things are moving so fast. I want to say 5 years ago, but I could even say, 2019 and before, around the awareness of the power and influence of Black women. I think about what's the sister in Georgia who I can't even remember.
Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, Stacey Abrams. And just what it means to be able to do what you need to do in the face of all of that, despite all of that, right? Because she had lost and picked herself back up to say, I'm about to turn this whole state around as my comeback,
Well, Tanya, I love her statement. You're saying this, I got to put the statement out there. Mm-hmm. When the election for the gubernatorial piece was stolen from her, mm-hmm. She didn't just lose, that was stolen from her.
Good point.
She said that she went home, she mourned, she took Shiva. So for our Jewish brothers and sisters, they rent their clothes, and that becomes a part of the mourning ritual. She rent her clothes, she took Shiva, And then she got up and she strategized. So as we talk about the power of women, and I must say, and I must lift up here, as we look at, many of us are AMEs, right? We have Dr. Faye Taylor, who is our presiding elder. That is one of our highest positions outside of the episcopacy, all right, within the AME church. We stand on, in the New York conference, we got to say her name, Lillian Fryer Webb. She was the first woman who was ordained as a woman in the New York conference. Some of you outside of the AME church may know her because for decades, she was the author of the sexual health bylines in Essence magazine. Her daughter is now Reverend Dr. Joanne Owens, who is the presiding elder for the district that I am in, the Jamaica, Long Island district. We must say their names. As getting ready to say Reverend Michele. Okay, that's prophetic. As Michele said, that they strategized to make sure that Kamala was going to be the person that was selected, and to make sure that she won that position. So she stands on the shoulders, and we each stand on the shoulders of those before us. That's why I said that it's important. We don't lose sight of that Mary Elizabeth dichotomy and this intergenerational component that we see here. We stand on one another's shoulders. When we talk about the power of sisterhood, I was so excited about what's happening here that I text one of my good friends. We have another group, right? And this is the group we call the Fordham group. And then one of my sisters came on. So Michele was the oldest child, and it was one other child. So Michele must have been 10, he must have been about 8. So we started off with about 5 couples, 2 kids. Now we have about 20 kids between all of us. All right. And the kids grew up, that's Aunt so-and-so, that's Uncle so-and-so. And when they would come of age, they would be like, is that my real aunt? Is that my real uncle? And it's like, no, they're not. So y'all can marry one another. It hasn't happened yet. But we kept this group, and most of them, it started with the men going to college together. Fordham University, Syracuse University, and Michigan. Those were the 3 schools. And the women ended up being the wives of these men. But we have formed our own personal, private relationship separate from those men, to be able to walk together professionally as we raise our children, as we cared for our parents in all of the seasons of life. And I just wanted to be able to put that out there as we talk about the value of sisterhood. And say her name.
Amen, mommy. See, I had good stuff from an early age, so I was always going to be all right.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you actually about, this idea of modeling, you're in conversation with your mother, you're in your resume is catching up to hers, and and so what is it talk about that idea of what you grew up with in terms of specifically.
When I think about my mom, I think the thing that I am awestruck is how she constantly has defied convention and persistence. Because when I was growing up, my mom was a teacher, she was a social worker, she was a missionary. And my mom is like Benjamin Button. She like ages better and looks like younger every year. It's like amazing. And so she has had like 5 different iterations of who she is, as both a minister and then doing this abstinence program. And then she was traveling internationally. with all these kids and this husband. And then she was like, nope, that's not enough. I'm gonna go and get my doctorate. And she was like, I'm out. Like, y'all figure out your lives, but I'm searching. And I think what I love about that, and then she is completely in her calling in hospice ministry and care. I don't know that many people who can find a space where they can minister to those at the worst moments of life and be successful, and speak to that need. So the thing that I have learned is that we can keep on growing and creating and developing, and we don't have to compromise that piece. Now, you might not be able to do everything all at the same exact moment, but the great thing is that we don't have to stop. We don't have to give up. And that's a lesson that I try to now impart in my children, but I get it from my mama.
Get it from my mama. My mom's on the call. Shout out to my mother. So I want to do a time check at 7. It's 7:02. I know we started a bit late, but I also want to respect people's time. And Reverend Singletary, do you want to take the temperature or decide if we're going to go over and if I should take some questions now or keep it going a little bit?
You're on.
I do that all the time. I sent out a chat. If people had a question or a comment that they wanted to share, to use the button to raise their hand, we would acknowledge. I've been checking and I don't see any raised hands or any questions in the chat comment area. But, you know, we have truly been riveted, as I knew we would be, by the life stories, experiences, and contributions of these two women of God, women and mother and daughter, sister friends to each other and to many of us. She said, say their names, and I wanted to say their names. I had scrolled through to see who was here so I could say some names. And also to say that the mission of Africa's Daughters of the Diaspora, which I'm going to read, is to unite women and girls of all ages from many places who share a lineage to Africa, surviving the violent scattering of our foreparents across the Western Hemisphere, dispersed to the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe in chains. We share a common ancestry. A strong and noble people, our ancestors were instrumental in building nations, economies, institutions, and winning wars. We celebrate our ancestors and the legacy they have collectively passed down from generation to generation. And we are committed to elevate African diaspora women, girls, and families by continuing the work of helping and healing our hurting humanity. I want to acknowledge those who have been in conversation. We just consider ourselves a steering committee, as Sister Tanya said. Oh, well, I just got a message that one of our ally sisters is going to be leaving us, and I wanted to say her name and acknowledge her as well, but I'll mention that she was here if she's not here when I get to that part.
So are we gonna, are you doing a closing or are we gonna continue the conversation?
Well, I'm gonna let them make closings, but I wanted to acknowledge people.
And I want to say something too.
And say their name. Oh, okay, good. You raised your hand. I'm trying to check the chat and check this. But I did want to acknowledge the African Daughter Diaspora Steering Committee, who is present on the line. So we have Carlene Murphy, Elena Mosley. This is in alphabetical order. Reverend Iris Waddell, Sister Kimberly Irwin, and Sister Roxanne Wilkins. Sister Michele, who is my assistant, also does that duty in joining us in those conversations, and she lives outside of the Columbia County area. We were concerned and are concerned about spaces where rural areas and suburban areas where people are separated by space, and so we don't have the connection like you do in the urban areas to have being able to get together. And so getting together, organizing, strategizing, supporting, uplifting, elevating, advocating is a little bit more challenging. In addition to which, you know, if you didn't have that experience of being connected to a strong social justice ministry, or you didn't go to a university or a college and have the experience of getting involved in some of the sorority and a sorority, for those who just skipped that all together, we wanted to create something that invited you, whether you were professional, academic, or Jane Doe, you know, is room for everybody. So those are the women who have been having that conversation together, and we invite you to that conversation as well. You can put your information in the chat if you would like to be contacted for more information about coming to our meetings by Zoom and or being on our distribution list for more events and information. There will be an event in March for Women's History Month, and Reverend Iris Waddell is championing that effort. I also want to acknowledge that we have several ministers on the call tonight, and we have acknowledged Reverend Dr. Reverend Faye Banks Taylor, and she is a presiding elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church in the Hudson Valley area, overseeing, I'm not sure the number of churches, but several churches. So we're very happy to have her. Payne, my first congregation that I pastored, is one of those in her under her jurisdiction. All right, get it together. So God bless you, Reverend Dr. Faye. It's good to see you. Then we have Reverend Dr. Gloria Jensen, and she is the current pastor of Payne AME Church here with us tonight. So we acknowledge her. Then we have several ministers. We have Reverend Iris, Reverend Jeanette, Reverend Julia Russell, Reverend Linda Van Alstyne, Reverend Suzette Turpin, and Reverend Chanel Turpin on the line as well. And Reverend Andrea Hargett has also been acknowledged and mentioned. So we're just really glad to have so many of our sisters in ministry and those who are doing such wonderful things. We also have with us one of our elected local officials, that is Miss Sarah Sterling, one of our county supervisors, and we're glad to have her. And also the president of the Columbia County Women's Alliance, with several of us on this. That's another sister organization. We're double sisters with them. And Ms. Cheryl Roberts, who is also, in addition to being the president of the Columbia County Women's Alliance, she's also the executive director. Oh gosh, Cheryl, help me. See, you're not here to help me. It just went out of my head. But it's a social justice center in New York City, and she's also the attorney for the city of Hudson. So I didn't want to say those names and make those acknowledgements and greet those persons and everybody else out there, because we said we would go till 7 o'clock and it's 7:09. So now, you know, if you are able to stay with us, we are going to return it back over to our moderator, who has done such a wonderful job, Ms. Tanya Jackson, and she will take any questions you might have if you just raise your hand. I know Roxanne Wilkins said she had something she wanted to ask or say, and then we will have some closing comments from Reverend Dr. Denise and Mrs. Michele Lawrence Jawando, Esquire. All right.
So, Reverend Kim, I just want to see Reverend Dr. Evelyn Suber also joined us.
See Evelyn. All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Evelyn Suber. All right. And 85 or 90% of those names came out from under Reverend Dr. Congressman Floyd H. Flake. He's our spiritual father. Yes, Tanya, back to you, sis.
Wonderful. Thank you, Reverend Singletary.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I have several more questions, but I will pass the mic to folks who may have some questions. And we'll go as long as folks are willing to stay, or particularly our guests. If you have a hard stop, please let us know.
Yeah, we're gonna do a hard stop at 7:30.
All right, hard stop at 7:30. So let me open it up and go from there. And now pass the mic to my mother.
Hi. I did want to make a statement about this event. In listening to Denise, the importance of having the sisterhood had escaped me till tonight. Being the elder of 13, I'm surprised at that. But I was raised to be a caretaker.
Mhm.
And so until today, I didn't realize how that mentality had dominated my thinking. And
Mhm.
I'm the eldest of 8 sisters, but I had that mentality all my life. So to absorb the benefit of being a sister had not ever been a part of my life. And I never did have a sorority or any of that kind of thing. And because of all different types of situations going to school, ended up never actually having those kind of sisterhood relationships going through school. So I did try to link myself up with different mentors, but I ended up always being in that caretaker mentality. A couple of women have taken me under the wing to to tell me, "Oh, you are special. There's something really special about you. You need to know that." But they didn't stay in life, but they did boost me to know that I should think more of what I'm doing there, because I'm the mother of 6 children. So I always had children around me, and they didn't want me to lose sight of the power that father had put into me, and the mission that there was something special for my life. But when we came into this diaspora thing, thing, I came into it to support Reverend Kim, because there's nothing that Reverend Kim would ask me to do that I wouldn't support wholeheartedly. I'm all about the kingdom work. And so anything that she wants to do that supports the kingdom work, I'm always there, and with my whole self. So um, to receive something from it, I don't
Mhm.
always look to do. So when I'm
Mhm.
listening to you today and realizing that here's an opportunity to actually receive something from this, I had a session with a doctor today, and she was telling me that some of the events that just hit my life recently, that those events are telling you it's time for you to stop and,
Mhm.
bring the 3 parts of yourself together for you, because the mission that you're on now is very important. And so then tonight, I'm seeing another message for me. And I'm
Mhm.
excited about what the next step is for this um, season of my life. And thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. As Michele said, I raised 4 kids and I've always been doing something. And a part of the pastoral care training is you have to write an autobiography, and not, I was born at such and such and da 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 da. But you have to get into your themes that happen within your life and look at these connections. And one of the things that was always raised, well, how come you do so much? And I'm like, what do you mean? That was the model that I was given. And as I called out each of these women that's on this line that's related to me, that's the model that I see. So that was my norm. That was my norm. But what I had to come to terms with, and I use the illustration, we work with metaphors in chaplaincy training. And I would use the illustration of a tree, and you would feel like someone was taking a leaf off, taking a leaf off, taking a leaf off, taking a leaf off, till the tree becomes bare.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we as women, have to get to a place of understanding that it's important for us to allow those leaves to come back on, to be watered, to be nurtured, to allow others to sow into us. So, and the other thing is to do it without guilt. I have a t-shirt that I use when Reverend Andrea just had to leave because she had another meeting, and she does a lot of counseling in the community. It says, it's okay to have therapists in Jesus. Because unfortunately in the church, we're so, you got a problem, we're going to pray on it. You got a problem, we're going to pray on it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with prayer, right? We all know that the fervent, effectual prayer of righteous men and women availeth much. But, all right, even Jesus came and cried to the Father, Lord, let this cup pass from me. We have to find that place that we can be nourished and nurtured. Very important. And sometimes you may need a therapist. If you can't find a good girlfriend that you can talk to, get a therapist. But make sure that you do. One of the things that COVID has done is everyone is seeing heightened levels of depression, stress, and suicide. And statistically, Black women have the highest level of depression. If we look at white males, white females, Black males, and Black females, Black women carry the highest level of depression. You know why? Because we do everything.
Exactly.
And we take care of everybody. So take care of yourself.
That is the thing. I have been in search for that for a long time and could not find it. And then when I came into the season of realizing that I now have to have it, and was looking for it in a BIPOC environment, my daughter found it.
Excellent.
My daughter found it. And so now I'm there, and now I see the importance of creating the environment for more. And so I think that that's how, and I think that's why I went through it, is because you can create a thing it needs to be created from the inside out. So Excellent. You can understand the atmosphere that needs to be. And so that's part of my next thing. And being able to write the book from the inside out is the next step.
You're on your way.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mommy. Are there any other questions? We have about just shy of 10 minutes left. Does anyone else have a question? If not, I have more.
Okay. Hi. I have a question.
Sure.
Hi. I'm here with my mom, Carlene. She kind of introduced me to, for the first time, to some of the things that you guys were talking about. And I wanted to know, how do you plan to reach communities of women that don't really have that sisterhood or don't really have that sense of community that they are able to really make sense of a lot of the stuff that we're talking about? Because for a long time, I didn't get that sense of community until I went off to college, and because I grew up in a predominantly white area, so I didn't really get that sense of community until I got to college. And a lot of people don't really have that opportunity. So I wanted to know, what was your plan to involve and integrate people that don't really have that sense of sisterhood and connection?
Well, let me try to address that. Tanya, you wanted to take that?
Well, what I would like to offer, or maybe rephrase it in a question for our guests in particular.
Okay, let me respond to her question first. So, first of all, it's good to see you. and have you here with us. It's been a while since I've seen you. Congratulations on all your achievements.
Thank you.
So what we're doing tonight, we are reaching out with these kinds of conversations. We want to invite you to communicate with us. You know, we sent out our email address. If you have some ideas about how we can further reach out beyond our monthly meetups, we have monthly meetups on the second Monday nights. And then we have monthly, you know, we are looking to have monthly or quarterly even events like this. And then some of those things will be determined by the interests of the people who are participating. So if, for instance, there is a night where you want to talk about getting ready for a serious relationship or getting into politics or getting to the next level in life, you know, we can have those kind of conversations around that. Our focus again is on people who are disconnected, who don't have those kind of relationships, and who are particularly in rural or suburban communities where you don't have the access to transportation and getting to each other and getting around. Thankfully, we live in the age of Zoom. We live in the age of, you know, conference calling, you know, free conference calling. So those are the ways right now that we see that we can connect. And then as the conversation opens up and more people get involved in it, I'm sure there'll be more things that come to the surface. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for asking the question, because one of the things, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I'll go a step deeper. About a year ago, I lost one of my friends to suicide. One of my friends from college. She was my sorority sister. We went to law school together. Was in her wedding. I mean, it was tough.
And she was a pediatrician.
Yeah, she was a pediatrician. So she was a caregiver. She was caregiving for her father. Again, I think the weight of womanhood, that, you know, caring for her children, supporting her husband, caring for her father, and then as a pediatrician, caring for others. And I think the thing that made it so challenging for those of us who deal the aftermath of those we love, who we lose through suicide, is that there was just this deep sense of loneliness and isolation she felt, although we felt like we were there. And so I will say is two things. One, you're not alone. I think it's really important, and I emphasize this now often, that one of the best ways that we are attacked is through feelings of isolation and doubt. And that often happens when we feel like there isn't community. I think the fact that you showed up tonight, that you were able to make your way to the sisters, the Africa Sisters of the Diaspora, that you have an amazing mother that you can share this moment with, as I'm sharing this moment with my mother, is also an indicator that there are means and there are people and there's a community. And one of the things that I have as my saying for 2021 is just start. 2 words, just start. I've had a ministry in my heart for a long time, and I've had excuses a mile long. And so now I just tell myself, just start. I don't have to do a big thing, but just start doing something. And so to you, I'll say, just start, just reach out, just take the extra step and email Reverend Kim and Tanya tonight. Say, we should have a call just based on this issue. Just start. And I think those little things help you to see that you're not alone, that there is a community, and that together we can really get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you for that question. I wish we had more time. I think these conversations should be 2 hours, not 1 hour.
I agree. I
We're
agree.
just getting into
1 hour is not enough.
into the meat that is sisterhood. You know, the richness that it is not just the rainbow of it, right? It is the having come through something with someone. It is that someone, I forget which one of you mentioned it, but that capacity to know you can be vulnerable with another person, and know that when you're out in the world feeling that sense of isolation, you have this reference that there is somebody who loves me, there's somebody who gets me, there's somebody who, if I'm able to be present to that. Um, there's so much we could talk about, but I think what would be important in terms of ending, we have about 4 minutes left, is having both of you share some lasting words um, around um, the capacity to hold self, some advice, I guess, and some parting words around holding yourself and then reaching out to help to get that holding when you need it.
So I am going to let my mom close it out because you don't go after a preacher. So just gonna start it really quickly with my kind of closing thoughts. So first, again, it was an honor and privilege to be with you. I see so many of my aunties, my Yolanda, my Joanne, my Andrea. I mean, there's just so many people who have poured into me for years and years. Auntie Julia, I mean, there's so many people, Leah, I mean, there's just too many people. Wanda, I can't remember it. But I will say, what I will leave you with is something that I am also growing. And I think we often see ourselves as one self, when in fact, we're actually made up of many selves. And we owe it to ourselves to explore that. And within those different selves, that creativity, the innovation, the beauty, there's pain, there's sadness, but there's joy, and there's newness of life, and there's new talents and skills. And what's great about having a sisterhood is that you can explore some of those selves with people, or you can just have boosters to support you as you see that. And I think my mom is a wonderful example that that growth doesn't end. It doesn't have a date. It doesn't have an expiration date. It is truly what I think God has put us here for. You look at the stories of the people who lived in the Bible. I mean, Moses didn't get busy until he was in his late 50s. So when we think about really what our stories are, they are not over. I believe our strength can come through our sisterhood. And that you owe it to yourself to find a different version of yourself and to live and let her grow and let her become and let her innovate and let her feel. You owe that to yourself. Forever long that we're here on earth, that we are blessed to live this life, give yourself the opportunity to continue to create and to iterate and to build and to grow. And I thank you, I honor you, I honor this space. I thank you for supporting the divine that is the female experience and the gift that is our female divinity. And I love being with everybody tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. I'm going to keep it together. I want to definitely thank Reverend Kim and Sister Tanya for this opportunity to be here tonight. I want to take a couple of minutes to just celebrate my sisters, the Honorable Wanda Matthews, who was able to go to Cuba with me for my 60th birthday. When 60 was approaching, I'm like, I don't want a dinner, I don't want a lunch. I want to do something special. And I think it was 13 of us went to Cuba, and it was the right time because it was before the previous president came in and it got shut down. Enjoy your flowers today. Enjoy your experiences today. Enlarge your territory. And when we began, I told Dr. Faye, we're in the process of relocating to Michele with most of my grands are there. So I'm a hoarder. I'm a certified hoarder. So I had documents the actual rosters from a trip to South Africa, and I think it was 2004. And I saw Dr. Faye's name on there, and she just shared that, yes, I signed up, but I ended up not going. She's someone that has sewed into me.
That's not hoarding. That's archiving.
That's archiving. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to change my word. I'm an archivist, which I have served in professionally as an archivist in some of my organizations. I value relationships and I value things. Reverend Wardell and I have crossed with a mutual sister friend, Reverend Caprice, who is working. That's why she's not here tonight. Sister Deborah is a part of my sorority. Know her through that and through my husband with the law, a member of the law. Reverend Kim, we'll save her to last. Reverend Julia, who I said has been my confidant. Reverend Suber. So when I was discerning my call to ministry and was taking a Bible study class with Reverend Suber and was preparing to go to seminary, she taught me this: put your hands on the desk when you're learning, take your book, read the first chapter, the last chapter, and every paragraph highlight first and last page. That's how you get through all of your reading. So I carried that through successfully through seminary. And when her husband's a political and my husband's a political, and one of my many times I was ready to get rid of my husband, I called her. I'm like, how do you stay married? So she has been a good mentor, and we're still married. I see my sister. I told you this was so good that I had to text my sisters while I was on. And I see my sister friend, Yolanda, and my niece, Janine. So we had a couple of mother-daughter groups here, which is very, very significant. I said these were the little kids that grew up, and now they are adults and they are a part of us. Taryn was here. I can't see if she's still on the screen, but she came on. I value relationships. It was with Reverend Kim that my family did their first 40-day fast between, what was it, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And my husband was like, what do you mean we're not going to eat? and we did it. But it was a practice that allowed us to grow closer to the Lord, closer in our relationships. And I said, we have to say their names. I am Denise Parker Lawrence. I'm standing on the shoulders of my mom, a teenage mother, Sandra Lenora Parker, Hudson Parker, who her mother was a teenage mother, also a minister, Lenora Hudson. And she was the daughter of Elder Minnie Hudson from the early 1940s, one of the first elders, female elders in the Holiness Church. So when I see Michele, she is that 5th and 6th generation. And when we're hairdressers, my mom, we had our salon in Queens, and Michele was 2 years old, and she would come into the salon and she would jump up and down. And my mother prophesied then, that little girl is going to be on the cover of Ebony magazine. So our new day Ebony magazine is the internet. So her words came true. And I thank God for who I am. I thank God for the women that sewed into me. I think one of my other sisters who's on the line, I don't see her, is Joanne Jennings, Reverend Joanne Jennings, who is a mentor of mine. Is actually my husband's biological cousin, but she has taken me under her wing from a very early age. And I thank God for who she is and what she has sowed into me. And I see my other daughter, Tanisha, is still here. Her mother and I, it's that sister that I gained when I became a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. So my sisters tonight, I just say, Give yourself grace. Today is our day of salvation, and the best is yet to come. Amen.
Amen.
And Ashe. And thank you. Reverend Singletary has another closing. But before she gives her acknowledgement, I want to once again thank you both for being here. Michele, we're kindred spirits. I'm about to call her up. We about to have like Zoom lunch or brunch or something, because I was, I'm snapping everything. I'm like, okay. I wish we had more time. I would love an opportunity for you both to come back and we can dig into some of these things that are, the meat in the heart of what it means for us to hold sisterhood, and be that vulnerability that we need, and the challenges of holding it down. So please come back another time. Reverend Singletary, I know that you and I also want to thank the committee of Africa's Daughters of Diaspora. I am moderating, but I would say that the work, those who rolled up their sleeves to make this happen, or other women who are here tonight that weren't moderating, but Reverend Singletary mentioned earlier. So I thank you all for coming together to use your eldership in service of the women that I know of myself, and I really appreciate that you all began this work. So thank you for that. Reverend Singletary, shall I bring up the flyer and you want to speak as I do that?
Well, no, because I also want to acknowledge our prayer ministry partners. That is a safe space if you're looking for a safe space. And all of those who are here in the prayer ministry who can attest to that, smile, wave, or say something. But it is a safe space. And people open up their hearts and it stays there. We support each other, we lift each other, we elevate, and we take it to God in prayer. In the COVID season, we have expanded it to twice a day, 9 o'clock at night and 7:30 in the morning. We've been doing 7:30 in the morning. April 1st starts our 8th year of praying daily at 7:30 in the morning. We have focused prayers and we pray for each other's family and urgent needs and concerns. It is a way of support. It's a way of connection to each other and to the divine. So we certainly want to let you know about that. And I want to acknowledge those who are on the group tonight. We have with us not the full complement of prayer people, praying women, I call them princess prayer warriors, what I call them. But we have Reverend Denise. My mother is also on the line, but she's blocked out. She's Dee over there. Reverend Iris, Sister Joanne, Reverend Julia, Sister Michele, and Reverend Suzette are the ones that are on the line tonight that are in prayer almost every morning. Some of us are on every morning and every night. Most are on every day. And so I just want you to know about that as well. It's a support there for you, and we're here for you. And if you want that information as well, just reach out to the Diaspora Gmail and we'll get that information to you.
See, Sister Joanne also, Reverend Kim. Sister Joanne is here.
Yeah, I said Sister Joanne, but yes, Sister Joanne. Okay, I'm sorry if I missed her. Thank you, Reverend Iris. So also I want to say, Michele, I love you. I can't wait to see you. And when your mom and dad move there, I know I'm coming. So they're going to have room in their house.
Always open invitation.
That's right. They got a room for me. But I'm also very blessed. Between the people on this committee or this team or this sisterhood, and then some of the women on this line, we have probably a half a millennium worth of years of friendships. There's a lot of years of friendships here. And Reverend Dr. Denise envisioned celebrating my 30th year in pastoral ministry. So I want to acknowledge Reverend Dr. Denise. She and Reverend Iris are the co-chairs of this event. And Leah Watson, who is also part of that team, she's on the call tonight. I just met her as we're going through this process. So we're going to get ready to depart. I ask God's blessings upon you. And I asked Tanya just to put up the flyer that was created by, Ms. Leah Watson, Sisterly Consulting at Gmail. She's handling all of this. It's going to be virtual. And we're just looking forward to, if you can scroll up a little bit more, one of my mentors in a relationship that has spanned more than 30 years. My keynote speaker will be the Bishop Dr. Barbara and Austin Lucas. And so we're just really happy to be celebrating 30 years in pastoral ministry. And, I told them, I said, I feel like I'm just getting started. So they declared a Caleb anointing on me, beloved. So, but that's in March. It's going to be by Zoom. If you'd like that information, if we don't have you on our mailing list ordinarily, please put that in the chat, and we'll make sure that you get more information about that. And I would like to read just a couple of the chats before we go. I know we're almost at that 2-hour mark, aren't we? Okay.
Reverend Kim, can I just highlight one person before you read the chat? So we're talking about sisterhood, right? I have my sister friend from the 9th grade in high school on the line tonight. That is Diane Hocker. And we have, she was actually our MC. We had our 40th wedding anniversary in Martha's Vineyard 2 years ago when Michele spoke about that. And she was the one that came up with that idea. I never even thought about it. So I just want to thank her for being with us tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And Joanne, who's a part of our prayer warrior, Joanne has healing hands and gave my father-in-law, who was on his way on the other side, a few extra years of life. So I always stand indebted to her.
Amen. Amen. So, beloved, there have been some really nice comments, and I really wanted to take an opportunity to share. Let me scroll. There was someone who took the time to write almost a paragraph. Good evening, Reverend Kim and the team of wonderful women that put this Zoom meeting together. I'd like to first and foremost thank you, my sister friend, Reverend Suzette Turpin, for inviting me to this wonderful discussion. I'd like to be informed about future events with the African Daughters of Diaspora. My name is Wanda S. Feaster. So we're very glad about that. Also from Reverend Suba, awesome conversation with awesome women. Sisterhood is a covering and a gift for such a time as this. And Sister Neva Martel, Sister Neva is one of my mentors in radio broadcasting. My very first time in a radio studio was with her. She was the manager of the Catskill studio, WDXC, and thanks to her graciousness, I overcame my fear of being on live radio and have been on live radio now. April will be starting my 5th year. Can you believe that, Neva? My gosh, how time flies. So she said, I appreciate this conversation so much. Thank you for inviting me and welcoming me to this community of exceptional women. And I look forward to a continued and growing sisterhood with you all. And you can scroll and see more, but there are many, many comments here. Deborah Padmore from my high school days. My gosh, thank you for inviting me.
Hocker.
No, I'm talking about Padmore.
Oh, you too. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, us too. This was an inspiring, necessary conversation. It's always uplifting to be in the company of women. I must run as I have another Zoom meeting. God bless each and every one of you. We're just so delighted to have been able to do this. This was a God idea, and we're just going to continue running with it. I bid you all peace, good health, and blessing now and forever. Amen. And
amen. Amen.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you so much. This was wonderful.
Good night. Thanks,
Mama
everybody.
Dolores, thank you.
Bye, sisters, till we meet again.
Okay. God bless. God bless.
Great. Many blessings. It was wonderful.
Amen. God bless.
Yeah.
See you on the 13th.
God bless.
See you on the 13th.
That's right. See you on the 13th.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes.
God bless.
God bless.
It was really,
Wonderful.
really outstanding.
Outstanding.
It was wonderful.
Totally outstanding.
Anyways.
Yes.
All right. God be with you. Oh, I wanted to, I got it kind of late, but I wanted to play Sister Sledge. We
Played that on my honeymoon.
Of course you did.
Years
Of
ago.
course you did.
Okay, God bless.
Take
Till we meet
care.
again. Have a good day. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
You could still play it.
You
Take care.